This episode is in partnership with Authority Magazine. Authority Magazine, a Medium publication, is devoted to sharing in-depth and interesting interviews featuring people who are authorities in business, pop culture, wellness, social impact, and tech.
Today we are going to get unbent.
What's that mean exactly? Well, we're talking getting unbent physically and mentally.
Our guest is Marilynn Larkin, who at 75 is a fitness trainer, coach, speaker, bodybuilder, and passionate about all things posture.
So sit up straight.
Marilynn, welcome to Believe in People.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk with you.
Well, it's a pleasure because we did we were doing the intro, Kevin and I were talking about getting unbent, and we know that you created Get Unbent, a coaching platform. And one huge interest of mine, and I know, absolutely know it's a focus of yours, is good posture. What is it about postural awareness and the connection between posture and self-esteem that's so important to you?
Well, I've been working with posture for so many years. And I think it started when I was a child because I'm only 5'2", so I was very short in elementary school. And I think I must have learned then, because people ask me why I got into it, that if I didn't stand up straight, nobody would see or hear me. But I think now, since also I've been working out my entire life, posture is dynamic. That's one thing. And I'm saying it for a reason to answer your question. So posture is important for good form when you're working out to avoid injury. And I say it's dynamic so that people know it's not just about this or this or this. It's about everything. It's about moving. It's about everything you do. It's about function. So that's really how I got into it. And then I went in waves. I started a posture size program that with exercises that people could do with elastic TheraBands, so they could do it in the office, and they could do it standing, because I guess I just don't like that everybody's lying down doing Pilates and stuff when you're standing in life. So I think you need to learn how to do things standing. And then I got back into it. I was a personal trainer and all this and that, and I realized turning my fun into work was killing me. So I gave it up. But then I got back into it because I read, I think it was Cuddy who had these power poses. And I said, oh, that makes sense. But then I read more deeply. I was in social work school for a while, and there's a book called The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life. Don't ask me his name again, I can't think of. But it's all about the connection in a corporate setting of how you present yourself and how people respond to you. And even though I've stayed out of corporate settings, other than my clients, my whole life, it made total sense to me. And as a performer too, just that whole, like Grotowski method, your body is your instrument. It made sense that if you're going to be like this, you're not only hurting your back and so on, you're not giving a very good impression. And you're feeling down usually. There's a Peanuts cartoon that I use. It goes, this is my depressed stance. And I can't, stand up because I'm going to feel better, and I don't want to feel depressed. So we know that there is that connection. And I think it's so important. I think people underestimate even small changes that you make, like looking at the person in front of you instead of looking down. So it's ubiquitous. During the pandemic, I got into playing guitar again, which I had done when I was 10. But when I got out of that, I was actually ending up playing in venues in New York. So I became aware of how performers tend to perform to the floor, they perform to the ceiling, they perform to each other, but they seem to feel uncomfortable performing to the audience. So
Huh.
that's just another aspect of, you know, how your energy becomes welcoming and bringing people in when you're open and making that kind of contact.
Well, ever since the interview started, I'm sitting up straighter and straighter and straighter, and my head is going to pop out the top of the screen. But
Okay.
it is true. I mean, so it's a perception thing, because if you are standing straight or you do have good posture, then the person that you're speaking with, probably will admire you. Like, oh, there he's up front, or she's, standing straight, blah blah blah. But what does it do for you internally, internally physically, but also
Yes.
perhaps mentally if you are
Yeah,
upright?
definitely mentally. There's no question that physically, I mean, I was in a subway train, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and some young guy sat down next to me and said, "You have such great posture." I mean, this is crazy. I'm on a New York subway, and he wasn't coming on to me. I don't think. But, people notice it. So how I feel right when I'm sitting up straight. I'm used to it. Um, I feel powerful. I think, part of my whole bodybuilding thing and all my weight training is that I like to feel strong. So when you're, in this kind of posture, it's a feeling of strength. And, you make that impression on people. People think, oh, maybe this is someone who belongs on the stage. This is someone who knows something.
Mm.
And internally, I have found my posture is generally so good that I was trying to do videos contrasting the bad and the good. I couldn't do the bad posture. So
The
I
before and after.
think she goes,
Oh,
it doesn't look bad. It
yeah,
looks
you should have called
well.
me.
That's hilarious.
No, but I think that internally, I haven't needed it that much, but I have done it with people where you actually feel better. It's like whistle a happy tune, no one will know you're afraid. Well, smile, and it's going to have a similar reaction, kind of reaction that both internally and externally. If you sometimes just have to say, ugh, I don't feel like doing this, I say, Marilyn, smile and get ready to do it.
Mm.
Marilyn, I'm really interested in your journey because I mean, think about it. If I may, you're 75 years young. And, I remember, Jack LaLanne. I remember, fitness, way back when. I hope you too. I'm looking at you too. Okay.
No,
Kevin's like, who's
you're
Jack LaLanne? Okay, no, I know
no,
he
no,
knows.
no, you're not
I
old
know
enough to
Jack
know Jack
LaLanne
And
is.
LaLanne.
it was not really that new. I mean, Jane Fonda and so forth. But I
Yeah.
mean, really, you were of the cutting edge of fitness and bodybuilding. What sparked
Well,
that for you way back when?
well, it's funny that you say that because, of course, I grew up. A nice Jewish girl doesn't go into fitness, even though I was, athletic and performed from childhood on. I was a tomboy and, so called and whatever. So I'm actually been earning a living as a medical writer and first a consumer writer, and now I write with Medscape, and they just ask me to edit for them. So, that's so I've had this duality where I say I'm either at my desk all day because I always work from home by choice, or I'm in the gym doing some really intense workout, or, for a time I was doing ballroom dance tricks and comps and stuff like that. And I think really for me it's that I love the feeling. I always tell people I don't do things for an effect. To me it's about the journey, it's about the process. And once I've done something, I'm more about okay, what's next? And that's sort of how I live. So about 22 years ago, I did do a natural bodybuilding comp. It was my first one and my only one until this past June, because I wanted to be and have some kind of goal and contest. I wanted to challenge myself. And what I really wanted to do was an aerobics competition. And people told me at that time, so like I was in my 50s, you know, forget it. They want tall, thin, blonde, young people in those contests. Definitely not me. But I had a trainer who said, your body is perfect for bodybuilding. And I didn't know what that was. I was like, okay, train me. And I did bodybuilding, and everybody was telling me I inspired them. So I got my fitness certifications because I said I can't inspire people to do bodybuilding competitions on it. So I worked with them for a while. And then fast forward to June, because of course with the cancer thing, I suddenly realized, well, maybe this is something I want to do again, for me, because again, it's about feeling strong and getting strong and challenging myself.
And
That's
actually,
really what it's been.
yeah, and actually for the listeners and viewers, I wanted to mention, so was it 2023 you were diagnosed with breast cancer?
Yes.
Yes, and so you're inspiring so many people, you're in phenomenal shape, you motivate others. Where did you get your resiliency and motivation from then? Because it's so personal to you.
Well, I hate to say this, it comes from having had a horrible childhood. I really realized that my mother was crazy, and she beat me up and stuff like that. My father was an alcoholic, and my brother, who's a couple of years younger than I, uh, he got out and married into another family, basically. And I just rebelled out, and that was it. And I realized when I think about it, I was walking to school by myself when I was 5. I got confidence by surviving
Right.
and by doing things. And, I think, because I asked myself that too. I said, what the heck? As people say, it is, where is this coming from? And I think partly maybe I was born with it. I don't know. There's just something in me that allows me to turn a negative thing into something different. And the confidence in myself, this is what I try to instill in other people. It's not about a million people telling you how great you are or how you, it's about you believing that you are great or you're inspiring people, whatever. Because everybody can tell you outside, if you don't believe it, you can go through your whole life feeling insecure and not feeling the strength that you have. And I have very accomplished friends who unfortunately, are in that situation.
Isn't it
So
funny though? Isn't it funny though how you say you had to walk to school and learn, learn all those things on your own at a very young
yeah,
age. And we're talking about posture and things like that today. I would assume that that's probably about the age that you learned how to stand up straight and stand up for yourself and look somebody in the eye.
you're probably right. I mean, I do recall that when I was in some assembly in elementary school, and somebody said, how could such a big voice come out of such a small person? And I think, the desire to, well, the need for strokes when you're not getting it in your family. So one way to do that is to perform and to put yourself, out there, and then you get the response from people. And I think that's probably what I learned very young. The 2-year-old in me, if I went through my therapy and all that a little later. But I think that I believe that if not everyone, most people have a life force inside them that has, propelled them to keep living, no matter what or how they may feel, and to just get in touch with that positive aspect. When I always say, in order to move forward, you have to accept where you're at. And then people always think that means they have to accept all these horrible things about themselves. I'll say, no, you have to accept what you can do. Otherwise, you spend your life over and over doing the same thing, trying to prove to yourself or to somebody that, you're okay and you're doing it. When if you say, hey, I can do this. Okay, I'm doing it. What's next? Then you can look at what's next.
It's so true. And you think about, and even with posture, Especially now, I think more than ever, when children now have devices. So
Yeah.
I see people walking, their head is down, their posture is atrocious. So, and I don't think they realize it, or they're so young, they figure, well, I'm resilient. I can just, have a great posture later on in life. I don't know if that's important at all. But I mean, all of this is sort of, we're all into our own little worlds and not really looking up at anything,
That's right.
and
Yeah.
so what
I'm
you
sorry.
do is more important than ever, Marilynn.
I hope so, because I have exercises that I actually created for my programs from theater games books that then could morph into just group situations where walk around, looking at the floor, and then walk around looking at each other. And everything changes, even how you walk changes. My other big thing is breaking stereotypes. So yes, we could say I'm breaking stereotypes, but people can when you think of an older person, what do you think of this? So people don't realize that by improving your posture, you're actually projecting a so-called younger or more energetic kind of image, kind of self, and also when you do that, you breathe better, so you get air coming up from your gut, this whole pipeline that is closed off when you're like this. I'll say one other thing with respect to my women clients that I had when I was running my fitness business. They always said, I can't be like this because people think, I'm sticking my chest out. I said, that's not, you're not, how you feel when you open up your chest is not necessarily how you look, because it's a vulnerable position to open up, especially when you've been like this, whether male or female. If you have upper cross syndrome, you're still like this. Guys get that a lot. So when you open up, you feel vulnerable. But if you look in the mirror, you see, no, you're not showing off or anything. You're being your full self.
It's a good
So I
point.
hope that message gets out.
When you say getting unbent, what does that mean to you, getting unbent?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because first it was unbent, and I said, no, that's too static. Get unbent. So get unbent to me means both physically, you get your body unbent for the posture, but mentally, you have to do that at the same time, and emotionally. It's been shown in studies that people who self-stereotype, I mean, we all have people, oh, I'm this age, I can't do this, my knees, no, I'm going to do this. You can actually cut 7 years off your life by doing that. So you have to unbend the way you think about yourself first, I always say, because people want to look outside and say, oh, they'll blame people or they'll look at the environment. But it's really going inside you and saying, no, I don't, who gave me those messages? Sometimes we have messages from childhood. Like I know I had one that I couldn't draw because I had a third grade teacher who said, oh, you can't draw. I found out years later that I could. But we have these ingrained messages from childhood, and we have the ingrained messages from society and from all these things that we're seeing. And I think it's starting to change, because I think that the boomers, don't want to be categorized like that.
Mhm.
So there is an evolution, but it's not enough. And I think people also just need to know that it's okay to go inside yourself and listen to. I lie down and I look and listen to all the voices in my head, and then I come out and I know what I'm going to do, because I'm able to identify the me that's me making a decision. But a lot of people, aren't introspective, or they're not used to it, and they're not used to talking to themselves or listening to themselves. But if you start small and you have one message that says, no, you can't do that because you'll hurt your knees or something. And you say, who said that to me? Where did I get this idea? And then maybe you're in a position to say, guess what? I don't have to listen to it anymore. I chose to listen to it. I can choose not to.
And I hope too, Marilynn, from that, you know, as we evolve, particularly as we get older, I'm hoping that the language changes because of the way, you know, we say senior activities, senior fitness. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's just infuriating actually to me that we still have that sort of language, you know, hanging around.
Yeah, and I hope one of the things I want to do now going forward, when I realize this is really not so much where I'm just doing posture, but the posture is part of this bigger picture of breaking stereotypes. So I'm asking because I take street jazz class with my friend at Broadway Dance Center. That's really, but I'm trying to look for things to do that people would think are unexpected. So one is an ice bath that I think I'm going to do next, and then try the opposite, and then get videos of me in the classes. And, I got to show that, yes, I'm still well, as long as I am alive, I'll still with stage 4, but I'm doing these things. And what's important is that I'm not the only one who can do it. I'm like a permission giver. I want to tell people, no, please, it's lonely at the top. You want to give people permission to do these things. So, I hope maybe you'll do some of these things as well with me, Amy,
Well,
because we got to show people. Yeah.
Exactly.
we hear so much about people, he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, and today's, politically, financially, today's world, medically, all these kinds of things. I mean, there is a lot of weight on people's
Yes.
shoulders these days, and I am not surprised that it might be affecting their posture. You want to break through all that, which, despite the fact you're facing challenges of your own, you're like the happiest person I've met today.
Yeah, I do want to break through it without minimizing it. I don't, you know, it's like I don't tell people what to do with their cancer. People want to know what I did. I don't, I'm not minimizing these problems people have, including me. But I think for me, quality of life is the most important thing, and that is the through thread of everything that I do. Am I having fun? Am I enjoying this? I mean, there are things I have to do that I don't enjoy. I understand that. But then I have to hold on to the reason that I'm doing it is that this is going to enhance my quality of life. And I think that there's a piece, even through all the stuff and challenges that we face, there has to be, in order to solve those challenges and go through them, a connection to that part of you that's going to drive you through it. Because most of the people that you see, I'm sure, they're walking around like this. A part of it is that sometimes they haven't connected to that force in them that can propel them forward and out of it, even while it's still there, and to find some strength and enjoyment without feeling guilty. Oh, I can't do this because, everything's so terrible. You don't have to be a victim. And I think very much so that people victimize themselves very often. Um, there are ways to solve problems. And when the feelings obscure the ability to think on how am I going to solve a problem, then you're stuck in this. And I think part of what I'm trying to get to is that the clarity of the thinking, because that's emotionless. That's the part that's like the computer that says, oh, here's my options to solve this problem. Um,
I don't think we spend enough time thinking about our quality of life.
that's unfortunate.
That's true. And I think before, I know we're coming close to our end, but I will have one more question, Marilynn. What what is one thing then, I mean, speaking of quality of life, what's one thing that we can all do to help us move a tiny, tiny baby step closer to that thinking?
Tell yourself something good about yourself. Stand in front of a mirror and say, wow, you know, what I did today or what I did yesterday, this is great. And believe it. Believe in something good that you're saying about yourself. And don't feel that that means you're selfish or self-centered. That's a BS. No, it means that you recognize your strengths and your positive self, as well as whatever else you recognize.
You have spent a half an hour telling us about your whole life from your childhood, which may have had some dark periods in it. You are fighting your own battles today, and yet you are still standing up straight. You are still projecting confidence. You're still working out, 75 years
Yes.
old, when everyone's telling us not to do all kinds of things. You are breaking those barriers. Why do you still believe in people?
Well, I don't think anything that's happened to me has made me not believe in people. What I do crave are more people like me willing to take risks and loving themselves or liking themselves and knowing that there's nothing wrong with saying that. There's so many of these messages that say you should and you shouldn't. I never use the word should. You know, it's want, it's a I am this way, and
And I
I
can.
think that everybody has the ability to do that.
So true. Marilynn, thank you so much for being a guest on Believe in People. We're really happy that you came on.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. I didn't know what to expect, and I enjoyed it.
Well, we
I
didn't
really did.
either. And now we're sitting up straight and we're feeling great. And that's what we're here
Great.
for.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Thank
Marilynn.
you. Thanks.
One thing that Marilynn said that was really empowering is we talk about believe in people. Well, how about believing in ourselves? So that's what really stuck with me is believe in yourself and the power that you have over yourself, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. The power to sort of push on through all the things that are, like she says, telling you can't do this, you can't do that, or whatever. You know, if you're standing taller after listening to Marilynn, tune in again next week, because each week we speak to someone who is just as inspiring as she was. Subscribe to Believe in People. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, everyone.